And the comments about the disabled reporter and the grabbing the pussy and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't bother you? Isn't enough to influence your position on global issues?
You take,
I'm asking why don't you?
You take an event which occurred 2 years ago, which was the reporter, okay? You take a locker room conversation that was, what, how many years ago?
But does that matter how long ago it was?
Didn't seem to for the media with Bill Clinton. I mean, if you're liberal,
but I guess it's just the balance, right? It's between all of these things that he's said that have been objectionable.
My point is, if you wanted to go around the planet and find every male who's ever said something stupid about women, what would you guess your luck would be?
Well, Harvey Weinstein's in a lot of trouble right now,
but
and Donald Trump is
Harvey
not.
Weinstein. Notice how you go from a guy having a stupid conversation, which he had, and he admitted he had, to a guy who is a total predator, and you compare the two. That would never happen with a liberal.
So nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
Familiar face.
Good to be here.
It's funny, I've seen you so often over the years, and you always look either like really happy and like you're having fun, or angry. Where are you now? Well,
I'm happy right now, but it depends on your questions. I could get angry. I mean, depends on what you want.
There was a news conference just this afternoon in the White House. The Chief of Staff, John Kelly, gave a pretty unprecedented news conference saying, you guys, you media, you're misreporting. All of these rumors are crazy. The White House is not unraveling. Pretty unprecedented for him to do something like that.
I think it illustrates the sickness of Washington. That this is an administration which is disgusted with the pathological need of the elite media to pick and pick and pick and try to find every possible trivial thing to write about. I think these are senior guys. I mean, John Kelly's a 4-star Marine. Jim Mattis is a 4-star Marine. Tillerson was head of one of the largest companies in the world.
But he's been quoted as calling Trump a moron.
And so they find themselves dealing with reporters who are idiots. And the reporters trivialize the news.
But Tillerson hasn't denied calling him a moron.
But it doesn't matter.
If he's a moron?
No, he's not a moron. That's a different question. My point is, they have a chance to say, let's talk about policy with Korea, let's talk about policy with NAFTA, let's talk about policy with Russia. Oh, could we possibly gossip? Because we love gossip, and we hate having to deal with substance because it is so hard to understand.
But it's more than just gossip.
It's turning the Washington Press Corps into a bunch of juveniles who run around gossiping with each other as though they were 7th graders at the cafeteria.
But it is more than just gossip. Bob Corker, he's a very senior Republican. He's chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He's on the record. You can hear him on tape basically saying that the efforts to contain Trump are not working and that he is recklessly steering America towards a World War III. That's not gossip.
No, then that's a legitimate, serious question to talk about. Although my hunch is in the next 2 weeks that Bob Corker and President Trump are going to make up and work together.
What about World War III? I mean, does he need
Well, hopefully
containing?
We're not going to have one.
But what do you think? I mean, are you, in your book, you're talking about how the world is in a very dangerous place right now.
I think we're in the greatest danger we've been in since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And I think it's a result of failure that goes back at least to the Clinton administration, in which the Clinton administration, the Bush administration, and the Obama administration failed totally to in any way affect the North Koreans. And the North Koreans have methodically developed a capacity to potentially destroy an American city.
And are the tweets by the president making things better?
Some make them better, some make them worse. I think that 20% or certainly 10% fewer tweets would be better.
Like the Rocket Man. You didn't like the Rocket Man?
Well, I think the Rocket Man was his way of trying to get the attention of Kim Jong-un and belittle him and shrink him. And it's worked in a lot of other cases. I mean, Trump's a very effective guy at branding people.
You were a very early supporter of Donald Trump. Is this what you expected?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. But part of my calculus early on was that Trump was the only person with the sheer force to defeat Hillary. And I thought that Hillary Clinton would be such a total disaster as president, that Trump was a better gamble for America's future, even though he was unknown and even though he'd never held public office.
And was that gamble a good one?
Yes.
Really?
No question in my mind. Just take the court. And again, I'm a conservative. Just take the courts. Look at who Trump is appointing to the court. Look at who Hillary would have appointed to the court.
But there's not much else to point to in terms of
Look at deregulation. The first president maybe in American history where you'll actually have fewer pages of regulation I think, next year than you had this year. It'll be remarkable change in the pattern of regulatory power, getting power back to the states. Look at the tax bill, the opposite of what Hillary did. He wants to cut taxes, she would have raised them. Look at Betsy DeVos as Secretary of Education arguing for school choice and the parents' right to have their children go to schools that work, compared to the total ownership by the unions of the Hillary Clinton operation. Look at the 57 Sunni countries who met with Trump in Riyadh, the king of Saudi Arabia meeting him at the airport, something he had not done with Obama, spending 3 days by his side. I mean, Trump in many ways has been a stunningly effective president. He just, in the echo chamber of the left-wing hostile Washington press, it is virtually impossible for people to see what Trump is really doing.
Do you take any responsibility for Trump's, or any credit for Trump's success?
No, I think Trump is a unique figure. I think
you didn't start this movement towards the populism
no,
and radicalism.
I take some credit for the rise in a broad way of being willing to take on the news media, the rise in a broad way of being worried about American sovereignty, the willingness to take on political correctness. I mean, you know, the fact that I'm willing to discuss left-wing racism, which just jars left-wingers because they can't. How could it be true? I think in that sense, Trump and I are very similar. But I don't think he's perfect. I think he has significant weaknesses, but I have enormous respect for his strengths.
It sounded at one point like you were going to be vice president.
No, that was a game he was playing with the news media. He was never going to pick me.
Why not?
Oh, lots of different reasons. I said to him when
you might steal a bit of the spotlight.
Well, we met to talk about it, and I said to him, in fact, I'll tell you a quick story about that. We met in Indianapolis when he really had already picked Pence, who's I think doing a great job, and Mike is a very close friend. And I said to him as we were discussing, we spent about 2 hours talking, and I said, look, you got to confront the fact. You're a pirate, and I'm a pirate. You cannot have a two-pirate ticket. There's no one for normal people to connect with. You need Pence because normal politicians can talk to him. And it was exactly right. I mean, people like Paul Ryan were very comfortable with Mike Pence. And as a Midwesterner, he really helped in Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So in some ways, Mike may well have been the missing last ingredient for winning the Electoral College.
You're going to run again? Going to go for it again?
No. I'm at a point where I'm sort of in the elder statesman phase.
Want to talk about NAFTA, about free trade. Yesterday, our Prime Minister, President Trump, met, and they were talking about NAFTA. And President Trump suggested that he would be very interested, perhaps, in a bilateral deal, a deal just with Canada. Why would he want that?
Oh, I think it'd be very easy to write a U.S.-Canada free trade agreement and get it passed by the Congress. It's going to be much harder to write an agreement with Mexico. Just differences in the economy, differences in the scale of the problems. I think the president believes he could both write a free trade agreement with Canada and a free trade agreement with the United Kingdom. And in both cases, the Congress would probably pass them.
Prime Minister Trudeau always said no, he would prefer a deal that involved Mexico as well. And Trump suggested, well, maybe I'll just kill the whole thing. He said that a few times, but he couldn't get that through Congress, could he? So what's the thinking?
He could. If he kills it, he kills it.
Well, no, you need the approval of Congress to kill it.
I think if the president decided to kill NAFTA, he'd win it in Congress.
Really?
Yeah.
So do you think that there will be an agreement on NAFTA?
Yeah, I think it'll probably come after the Mexican presidential election, but I think there'll be an agreement.
Coming up next, round two. My conversation with Newt Gingrich gets heated.
Is there anything
But now notice how you just did this.
Yeah.
You take a quote which Tillerson denied happened.
No, he didn't deny it. He has not denied calling him a moron. There are a number of Republicans in Congress who won't forward his agenda. There are people like Corker and perhaps Tillerson and others who have suggested that he's out of control or doesn't know what he's doing. Is there anything
But now notice how you just did this. Okay.
Yeah.
You take a quote which Tillerson denied happened.
No, he didn't deny it. He has not denied calling him a moron.
But he said quite clearly that he's happy to serve the president.
Yes.
Period. All right. And now it begins to be a whole thing. The fact is, Corker has voted with Trump on health care, for example. I believe Corker's going to vote in the Senate for the tax bill. They disagree personally. You know, I think the American system, because we have a president and the House and Senate, and we're constitutionally very different, than a parliamentary body. We often have tension between the president and the Congress.
And the comments about the disabled reporter and the grabbing the pussy and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't bother you? Isn't enough to influence your position on global issues?
You take
I'm asking why don't you?
You take an event which occurred 2 years ago, which was the reporter, okay? You take a locker room conversation that was what, how many years ago?
But does that matter how long ago it was?
Didn't seem to for the media with Bill Clinton. I mean, if you're a liberal,
but I guess it's just the balance, right? It's between all of these things that he's said that have been objectionable. My point is,
if you wanted to go around the planet and find every male who's ever said something stupid about women, what would you guess your luck would be?
Well, Harvey Weinstein's in a lot of trouble right now.
But
Donald Trump is
Harvey
not.
Weinstein. Notice how you go from a guy having a stupid conversation, which he had, and he admitted he had, to a guy who is a total predator, and you compare the two. That would never happen with a liberal.
Well, there was lots of talk about Bill Clinton's behavior.
None of which had concept, mostly on the right. Well, in fact, the impeachment was over perjury, which is a legal problem. He committed a felony
about Monica Lewinsky.
Right, and he lost his law license. Couldn't practice law in Arkansas when he left the presidency.
But I'm just trying to figure out, because it sounds like you're still very much behind him. Behind Donald Trump.
I think he said something stupid 15 years ago, or whatever date that speech.
But there's been a lot of things that a lot of people have called stupid, not just that one.
The alternative was a woman who deleted 33,000 emails illegally, who ran a totally illegal server, whose foundation took money from the Russians and virtually everybody else on the planet. And if you want to talk about Russian influence in the United States, look at the Clinton Foundation. And so my choice wasn't between, Christ as a candidate and Donald Trump. My choice was a woman who I thought was both ideologically wrong and fatally flawed and totally corrupt.
And now you've seen, it's been several months that he's been president, and he still has your trust, your support?
I think that what he is doing to shake up Washington is what America needs. I think the system was badly broken. I think just what he's done on deregulation is historic, and I think what he's doing on judges is historic, and I think what he's doing on reasserting sovereignty. I wish that intellectual liberals would read his UN speech and realize how serious a speech it is. It's a very clear reassertion that sovereignty is at the center of the international order, not some kind of globalism. And it's a dramatic contrast to the Obama, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton worldview.
So America, the world is in a better position because of him now?
I think America's in a better position.
And the world?
I think the world has a problem because I think the world was used to the United States being a sucker, and the world was used to the United States having bad deals and bad agreements. And it's like the Europeans who have spent 2 generations relying on the American military without paying their dues. All of a sudden you have a president who says, you really ought to pay your dues. Well, if you're the guys who got away for 2 generations without having to pay, you're going, wow, this is really mean. Well, I don't think it's unfair to say to the Germans and the French and others, you have to be part of help. NATO has to be a team effort. It can't just be the United States.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.